Hello, my absolutely beautiful Pisces friends, and welcome to your horoscope for November of 2023. We're Pisces this month. We've got Saturn coming direct in your sign. Now, Saturn entered your sign back in March of 2023, so there has been some getting serious, some demonstration of mastery of who Pisces is, who you are, taking your own authority, maybe even for some of you challenging authority. So it has been very, very real. And now as Saturn is going to come direct, we're going to see what you're able to do with that and who you're able to take out into the world. Now, I also absolutely love this month that we enter into Sagittarius energy, which is a fellow mutable energy, which means that your career or your soul level calling or your title in public, what we call you in public, this zone of your life is starting to get really very busy, really very active as it does every single year. The last thing I'm going to tell you is at the end of the month, we are going to look out for two events that I'll cover here. One is going to be that we will have Mercury moving into pre-retrograde shadow space. As well, we've got a full moon at the end of the month that I think is a little bit questionable. So we're going to talk all about that coming up. Now, before we jump in, if you haven't grabbed your digital transit calendar from our friends at Wise Sky Collective, make sure you click in my description box down below and get your hands or your phone or your tablet on that. As well, I've got a code so you get a little discount off, and it is just the most convenient thing to keep up with what is happening as the transits are moving throughout the day. I mean, it's the absolute difference between coming to listen to my astrology and I tell you that Saturn is coming direct in Pisces and you feeling and knowing the moment that Saturn is actually making that movement and being able to embody your astrology. So click in the description box down below, more details, grab yours, and all of that good stuff. All right, Pisces, into the month we go. Now, first of all, on the 4th, we have Saturn coming direct in your sign, 0 degrees of Pisces. We saw Saturn go retrograde on June 17th at 7 degrees of Pisces. So just these first degrees of your sign have really been getting a look over for sure, okay? Now, again, though, we want to go back to March of 2023 where Saturn moved, first of all, into your sign, moved to that 0 degrees of Pisces aspect, because this is a really potent energy. This is called an anaretic degree, which means that it is like a concentrated, heavily energetically laden energy. So you cannot mistake what is going on when a planet is moving at 0 or 29 degrees, but certainly 0 because it is very much so bringing your attention to what is going on, okay? Now, as Saturn has gone retrograde, what we were really looking at, first of all, is about your intuition. This is in your sign. You are an intuitive, beautiful energy. So where you've needed to trust your gut and you've needed to trust your intuition on how to guide yourself, Pisces, where it's like, yeah, traditional common wisdom or traditional structured wisdom is saying this, but my intuition is telling me this, and I am doubting it. Right? That's the Saturn feature. I've been doubting this. I've been doubting my intuition in some way. And now you are put into a position as Saturn went retrograde to say, no, wait a minute. Whether it is me taking on a new job, taking on a new persona, making decisions in a different way, I need to trust my intuition. I need to give my intuition some structure, Saturn, to be able to trust how it is unfolding and guiding me. So this particular Saturn retrograde, I think, has been absolutely phenomenal for telling you that, yes, this is the right time to make that move. This is the right time to say that thing. This is that right time for that new venture. And what you take on, as long as it's been guided by intuition plus structure, it can really come out to be for you very, very well. Now, traditional common wisdom here that I think is actually quite useful for you is, as long as your intuition, when you trust it and move with it, but also you run it by like someone outside of you and like they can hear you, right? Like they can hear it, because intuition and spirit is never gonna lie. It's never gonna lie. So somebody who has no real investment in your life, if you say it to them, they'll be like, yeah, that sounds sound, right? Because the truth has a resonance. So also, as Saturn went retrograde in June, it went retrograde sextile Jupiter, which is phenomenal. house. So it was like, who's the teacher telling you about, yes, this is a good resource or it's not, or helping you see your way through where your intuition is guiding you, and you need to make just a small adjustment to make it all really, really make sense. On November 8th, we see Venus entering into the energy of Libra, where she is perfectly comfortable because Venus is the ruling planet of Libra. Now, I love this because Venus is an attracting in energy. It says, come to me, come to me. Now, your job is to be clear on what it is you are attracting in. Now, this lights up for you your 8th house space, the house of intimacy and assets, and that is shared assets. So you are connected to another resource that is creating an asset for you in some way. Now, if it happens to be at the intimacy level, sex, healing, astrology, counseling, grief, any of these things, you've got an opportunity. Something is pulling into you saying, here's a potential collaboration. Here's a potential healing that's coming together for your favor. But I also like this in terms of some kind of coordination that's happening for you around the finances, where it's like, yes, I've really been wanting to take this on, and now you have an investor in some way. Someone else in a shared resource manner has a financial situation that may be benefiting you. At the same time, I can never forget that the 8th house is also about death, debt, taxes, estate planning, inheritance, things like that. So do you have something coming to you financially that could be of benefit to you from one of those resources? Last but not least, I never forget that the 8th house is about detoxing. So really, truly, if you have relationships in your life that are not the blessings that they need to be, if you in your intimate relationship are not being the blessing you are meant to be, this could be Venus really showing you how to compromise, making commitment and responsibility in your relationships a little bit more comfortable, okay? Because listen, self-sacrifice, especially in relationships, long-term relationships, is not the easiest thing in the world, and it really challenges us to grow. So you maybe have needed a little bit of help softening into the collaboration, okay? On November 10th, we see Mercury entering into Sagittarius, and later down in the month, we will also see the Sun and Mars jump in here. So the 10th house gets busy. So literally in the career sector. And again, think broadly, because your career can also just be the title or the name that someone calls you in public. Do they call you mom? Do they call you grandma? Do they call you VIP? Do they call you librarian? What is the title that people are calling you in public? Because now, as these energies are in Sagittarius, you maybe have this idea of what you want, of where you want to go, whether that's professionally or in terms of your title or where you're connected and being known as, but you need step-by-step instructions on how to get there. And this is where Mercury is particularly strong, bringing you new information, bringing you new things to study, bringing you new philosophies and ideas, and maybe even things that have seemed foreign, bringing you new faith around your work environment, around your profession, around your title. And I really think that this is something to consider because, again, going back to like some relationships, right? You really get in there, and if that relationship is working, it is going to rub to the surface some things that need to be healed or looked at in order to effectively partner, right? And this may require a whole new landscape of ideas and conceptions and beliefs that seem foreign to you in order for you to keep the title that you have, in order to stay in your long-term commitment, whether that's marriage or work or whatever. So you also have Mercury bringing you these new ideas and philosophies that can help demonstrate some mastery and some ease in the titles that you already have. But I'll tell you too, on a very practical level, if you wanted to launch your product, if you wanted to go for a promotion, if you wanted to apply for that job that seems like it's just a little bit above your horizons, do it. Shoot your shot, Pisces. Okay. On November 13th, we've got a new moon happening in Scorpio, and this moon is conjunct Mars. It is opposing Uranus. So this particular moon right out of the gate is giving the vibration of, yes, plant your seeds of intention in your 9th house, okay? In the house and in the space of beliefs and what you believe, faith, philosophies, publishing, marketing, broadcasting, a full-scale expanding out. But this Uranian energy brings the vibration and the information to you that it's like, in order to have this real transformation, in order to make this commitment and live this set of priorities in your 9th house, you have got to come at it from a really different perspective. Really different perspective. And maybe it's really radical for you, or maybe it's you're creatively inspired with what you will teach, who you will learn from, where you are willing to focus on shedding destructive behavior patterns, emotional burdens, stress, old beliefs, in order to have an extraordinarily revolutionized experience in your 9th house area. And sometimes this is as simple as perspective. And that's what I love about Uranus. Uranus brings a lightning crash to your perspective, which is like, whoa, maybe it really can be this way. I never actually saw it that way. But sometimes, as big as the lightning strike is of Uranus, sometimes, depending on where you're at, it can feel like the tingle of electricity popping through your brain, like a moment of creative genius has just presented itself, and you believe and you know and you trust differently. So at this particular new moon, if you needed to put something out into the world, if you are looking for an opportunity to travel, to teach, to learn, to step onto a new path, plant your seeds of intention right here, and just know if the path looks really different, that might be super okay. As we get to the 22nd, we see the Sun enter into Sagittarius. On the 24th, we see Mars enter into Sagittarius. So again, this is the space of the Archer lit up in your chart. So really, truly, you might have to pull backwards, because the Archer pulls that arrow back nice and tight before it lets it fly that good distance. You may have to pull back a little and go step by step by step, but getting focused on what you need to do step by step by step in order to make your great adventure, to let your expansion and your expansion of expression and your exploration of new spaces and places happen for you. So never be afraid to have to pull back just a little so that you get a really good launch during this season, okay? Now, as we get to the 25th, we'll see Mercury step into its pre-retrograde shadow time at 22 degrees of Sagittarius. Now, it's going to actually take the retrograde December 13th at 8 degrees of Capricorn. But this is the time to start to watch your chart. Between that 22 degrees of Sagittarius and that 8 degrees of Capricorn, what's starting to come to your attention around your career, around your title? What is starting to present itself for you that you're like, I might need to get more information about that. I might need to rethink that. I maybe have to go back and have a different conversation. Maybe it's even a conversation, especially in that Sagittarius zone, where you're having to go back into the family and go, well, now, wait a minute, hold on. I have not said my piece. As a matter of fact, I have some things I need to share, which I think is a really fantastic tie-in to this final full moon that we are having this month on the 27th. It's going to be at 4 degrees of Gemini, lighting up your 4th house space, Pisces. Okay, first of all, the full moon is going to ask us to end something, acknowledge something, or to make an adjustment, okay? But this particular moon is also in conversation with Mars, Sun, square Saturn, got Lilith tied in here as well. So there is some, at the end of a wedding when they're in the wedding and they say, speak now or forever hold your peace, that. You may not want to hold your peace anymore, especially in something surrounding familial things, Pisces, okay? This may be a time where this is a Gemini energy. You're needing to wade through the waters of communication. But here's what I think is something to pay attention to, is that first of all, with this connection, of Sagittarius season and then this moon bringing the month to a close, you're getting two different sources of information because this is an opposition. So maybe the family or the home zone is saying this thing here over on the left, but then also you're getting exactly from that same home zone some information over here on the right, and they don't match together, right? And it's like, well, do I say something about that or do I not say something about that? First of all, I'm going to tell you, listen Listen, Pisces, listen. Gemini struggles in the area of listening. So listen first, because your job in this opposition is to find the sweet spot in the middle. Where does the information, where does the compromise overlap? Because from the position of the middle, that's how you can navigate forward. But have no doubt that I think you are getting information that is not aligning completely, and you have to sort through between the public life that you have and the home life or the family life or the authority life. You are wading through some information. Now, when we're also dealing with the axes of this full moon of Gemini and Sagittarius, one of it is like there's the big idea and the other one is the details on how we're going to get there. And this could be simply the information that's not working out. So what do you need to see in your family zone, your home, family, real estate, property zone that either requires you to speak up and take responsibility and step forward, or requires you, Pisces, to realize some humility and say, okay, in the compromise of this, here's where I also need to grow in order to be able to give, which is very different than I'm going to sit quietly and let you walk all over me. Those are two very different things. So make sure you're doing the best to master your practice, but definitely listen, because there is an intersection of the information, and that's where you can do the most good. All right, my beautiful fish, I hope you have a gorgeous month. I love you a whole ton, and I look forward to seeing you next month.